All right, so what is more entertaining than our successes? Our failures, obviously, are the most intense, funny thing that we can experience, always usually in retrospect. It was not so much fun when I experienced this firsthand, but it has all been a part of the learning experience here. Well, I live in another foreign country and I'm doing a bit of traveling. So the story is that I wasn't able to come back into the country given the status of my passport. So what had happened was, I mentioned this a little bit in the previous video, but I want to give the whole story, like how everything got screwed up at the airport and with my work visa and so on. So I had come to Thailand. Also, people were asking, like, why did you leave Japan? What happened? I can kind of kill two birds with one stone real quick here, but we'll focus in on the story of the airport. But the reason that I'm here is because near the end of my time, when I was in Japan, I was looking for something to do with my career, my future, whether that's working for myself or I was going to get a job. And I thought it'd be really interesting to try and do, since they have all these schools and boot camps now for software development, maybe I try and do that, because that's what my dad was. He was an electrical engineer and a computer scientist, and it was always cool. Huge part of my life. If you've peeked into it over the course of years, I made things. Always bring him up. Always very influenced by this fact. So I was like, I'm going to go to this boot camp. At the boot camp, I was like, this is so sweet. I really like this. I'm not technical at all in terms of actual like back end, the heavy nuts and bolts logical stuff. I was like third bottom of the class, but I have a few creative ideas. And so I met somebody there who was top of the class. That's my work compatriot here. And I said, let's go build something afterwards. So that's why I came to Thailand. And I did so, discovering that they had a 6-month startup visa. And why would I be here? Well, it was kind of a cost of living thing where I was like, I can live in Thailand so cheaply. It gets a bit rough with the fact that Japan is such a cheap place to live. But that was practically speaking why I came to Thailand. I was like, I'll set up here and I'll build something and I'll do it in an affordable way with a high standard of living. So that's why I came here. And I came here on the 6-month visa. So that led to me confirming at one point that when we first got this, you need to renew that obviously after 6 months. And when we came, that was allowed. That was the whole system behind this, is that you could renew up until 2 years. Since I mentioned in the last video, I'll cut it a little bit short now. When I followed up twice, not the first time, but the second time I followed up, they said, we have removed the option for you to be able to extend that by another 6 months. So you can't use that visa anymore in that way, unless you got $50,000 in the bank, which I did not have at the time. So what that meant was, the sky is not falling, but I got to get out of Dodge. You're allowed 2 entries into the country per year. And as a Canadian, you can come in with 30 days. And then if you'd like, you can extend that for another 30 days. And you can do that twice, so you could stay up to an additional 4 months in the country, having 2 entries, staying for those 2 60-day periods. If you're doing it on a tourist visa and I'm not going to transfer into something like I was studying the Thai language or something like that. Beautiful language, wonderful people, not the priority when I'm here. So that didn't make a lot of sense. And I thought, okay, I'll just do something really cool. I have an excuse while I'm in Thailand to be able to travel so cheaply. That's another thing when I saw people, they're like, how do YouTubers do this? How is it possible? It's like, I'm living in a cheap place. I'm 39 years old, so I have a little bit of money, and I was employed for the last decade that I was in Japan. And yeah, so it's not by some like incredible financial feat that I'm able to do these things. If you save up a little bit, I think on this business, I'll probably have spent less than somebody would spend on like a fancy vehicle that they got. Like, yeah, I can't say exact numbers because I'd be pulling them out of thin air, but it wouldn't exceed that. And by fancy, I mean like around, something far less than $100,000. So what I was set to do was, okay, I got my one buddy, he was going to go to Vietnam, this place called Da Nang. I think that's where I'm going to go now, because it's so nice. The airport is right next to the beach, and so you can like go from there to there. And my friend, again, the work compatriot, this guy is well-traveled. He's the sort of person to be like, my favorite is Turkey, but not Turkey now, the Turkey of 10 years ago. And you're like, okay, this guy's traveled a little bit. And he said that Da Nang, Vietnam, is one of his all-time top spots to go. So I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool to me. I would like to do that. We're just going to go out of the country for a couple days, come back in, and then return on our work. Return to our work. That was our plan. And I started to get set up for this, basically. I looked at it and I thought, oh, okay, I'll probably go to Da Nang too. So I got online and I'm thinking about booking tickets and everything and trying to stay ahead. You know, with these sort of things, you don't want to leave loose threads or you might end up making a video like this. So I'm preparing and I book my tickets and I make sure everything's fine. Bearing in mind these are non-refundable tickets because I didn't get like the flex one. I was like, oh, it's cheap. To get this option here where I can't assure any sort of cancellation or change, and I know that I'm going. I book everything, and then it was at that sage moment that I thought to myself, you know, you should probably look at your passport just to confirm that you came into the country on the 14th, and it's 6 months that you were able to be here, so you should exit the country on the 14th. That's when you booked your ticket for. I sure hope that's when your valid visa is until. I go and look at my passport after I booked it, and the way that they had processed our work visas to begin with, our startup visas, they screwed up and issued them to us a week before we were able to leave Japan, and so there's a discrepancy of 1 week between when we left and entered, and so I just booked a trip to leave on the 14th, and I have to leave the country on the 7th. It's like, that sucks. It was going to be... you know, just a couple $100, you like go there, $200 flight, $100 flight. You stay at a place really nice for like $30, you're back. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. But now I'm already like, you idiot, sunk cost. But I spoke to my brother about this. He's a very entrepreneurial man. He's had to navigate a multitude of situations because of the businesses that he tries to do. And his wisdom to me has always been that do not confuse activities outside of the business, things like leaving the country and getting back in, as something aside from it or apart from it. He's like, all of these calamities that befall you, they are the business, make no mistake, and treat them with the same patience that you would to ultimately solve whatever problem may come up within when you're literally working on the code or doing it, whatever else it might be. So I kept my cool relatively well at this point. I was like, all right, you know, sunk cost. You're an idiot. You should have checked your passport beforehand. I was able to tell my compatriot, and he was able to schedule things around, and so he didn't get quite so screwed. And I was happy for that, obviously. Now, I thought, okay, I'm not going to do Vietnam. I don't have enough time. As a Canadian, I have to apply for a visiting visa. It's not a big deal. It's just like you apply, you say how many days, and they get it back to you within a week. But I didn't now have time to be able to reschedule that. So I was like, okay, there's Laos. Laos seems really cool. I looked at their capital city, Vientiane, and it's next to this huge river, mega affordable, accommodation around the place, another hour-long flight to get there. And I thought, no problem. We're gold. We're fine. And so I booked and rescheduled, and I had it for the 7th, and everything was now at this point gravy. It's fine. We're settled. And no more surprises. As with just like the Radiohead song, no surprises. There were a few more. So I was doing this solo. Buddy goes to Da Nang, I'm going to go to Laos. And I get to the airport ahead of schedule, big time, right? Like, I've already seen enough things go wrong. Let's be careful I don't screw up one more thing here and show up late. So I got up to the window to check in. I was like, hey, how you doing? Everything seems totally fine. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I've got my passport. I booked ahead. They have all my information. Should be totally fine. And he was like, oh, sir, your passport, it expires in April. I was like, yeah. I'm going to, you can see it on my ticket, I'm going to Laos for 1 day and then I'm coming back. And then I'm going to renew my passport when I get back to Bangkok. I just didn't have time. I've been so busy. And he was like, oh, well, you see, the thing is, unless your passport is valid for 6 remaining months, you're not allowed to enter that country. And, you know, this is where you would very quickly rail against the system. You'd be like, are you kidding me? So you're like, this is the definition of a valid passport is not valid. It's kind of like, why then do we have a remaining 6 months on a passport? Is that's just so I can get home? Was Canada not going to let me back if I didn't have it? I don't know. But you can't, I mean, you grind your teeth and you pull out your hair, but there's nothing to be done for it. So I said, okay, guys, you can see here that I cannot leave the country, or I must leave the country, because I got to get back out, got to get out and get back in. Otherwise, it's going to run out, and I'm overstaying my welcome here, and that's very bad. Don't want that reputation as a world traveler. And they said, okay, well, maybe there's somewhere else. And I was like, yeah, why don't we go to, what about Malaysia? They were like, nope, can't go to Malaysia. 6 months. I was like, holy hell. All right, no biggie, no biggie. You know what? Let's do it. Cambodia. I'll check out Cambodia. I've never been there before, and there's cool stuff. They're like, Cambodia is especially strict. I was just like, oh, man. Oh, yeah. You can just feel all that privilege dissolve when you're interacting with a global community now. I said, all right, that's okay. All I'm looking for, guys, like, I just got to get in and out of the country. And then the woman said, well, you could go to Canada. I was like, that's like, these trips are, you know, they're $100 to jump over. If I returned to Canada and came back, it'd be like $2,000. So I was like, if we could avoid that, it would be good. Also, that I would not have to fly for 18 hours would be cool. And they were like, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, well, let's check it out. Well, all right, we got something for you. You could go to Hong Kong. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Never been to Hong Kong before. I'm so grateful to be allowed in anywhere at this point. And then I was like, wait a second, though. Can we confirm? I don't even know if I can get back into Thailand. You know, silly me. I never confirmed any of these details about the validity of the last months of validity on a passport. And they're like, whoa, we don't know either. Let's check. And when they did, this is like the biggest, bestest good news of the whole thing, was that for the period that your passport is valid, so long as you are in and out of the country of Thailand within that period of time, it's a-okay. So I was in the clear. I got 4 months remaining. You will be able to be here for 30 days. It extends beyond that. You're fine. I was like, whew. And then the last nail in the coffin when I got up to the thing, it was just so funny, where she was like, Hong Kong, okay. And I was like, why do you seem like kind of downtrodden saying that to me? Like, I should be grateful for this, shouldn't I? And she was like, yeah, it's Chinese New Year's, so it's really expensive. So it's just one last thing where it was like, it was supposed to be one trip that cost me probably $200, you know, maybe $300 if you were going to be extravagant with your eating there. And then it ended up, this soaked me bad that I ended up spending like over $1,000. But then I saw it as, this is the business, you know, you have to be patient, you have to know, and let it be a cautionary tale that a boombox is incredibly powerful. A boombox can save the world. No, it's that you need to prepare for these things. You gotta know before you go over borders, before you enter certain countries, that each of them, they really do have incredibly individual reasoning behind whatever their rules are at the border and the different visas and passports. And I mean, I know that kind of goes without saying, but it's easy to get blindsided by. I traveled to the US so much when I was younger. That was so simple. I would often travel, you know, with my family or with my schools. You'd go to like, I went to England when I was younger and I was rowing, and it just seemed very like everything just kind of flowed. But that's because you're doing it as a tourist and you're not doing these like, you know, of course you didn't have 4 months remaining. Your parents wouldn't have allowed that to happen or something. I don't know. But I really stepped in at this time. It was, in the end, totally fine. I did get back in. The guy, when he stamped me in, he's like, it's not a startup visa anymore, though, you know? And I was like, yeah, of course. That's part of the deal. I'm just here to work, and if I can be in the country in any context, then I'm very happy. So that was really funny. I was shaken. I was like, definitely sky is falling, but I kept my shit together. And maybe most important as I've gotten older, the most important thing to me as I confront any kind of stress is to divorce your anger from it. You become, I don't know, if you have any degree of self-awareness as you get a little bit older, it gets so laborsome to realize after you've overreacted and you're like, that person doesn't need that, I didn't mean that. And it just brings it out of all of us. As I will say till the end of my days, it is pain that turns us into monsters, just like Princess Mononoke with the demon attacking the village. I make that allusion in many videos because it's so important. Such a good movie. It is Princess Mononoke. Yes, it is. There you go. So I didn't get mad at anybody. Everyone was super helpful, and I got back in, and I kept my cool, and now things are going very well. And I'm actually now, I'm just about to go out again, as I said. But this time, I got the new 10-year passport. It's slick now. Canada, after like 20 years, finally upgraded our passports, and it looks cool. Getting out of the country will be fine. I'm probably going to book some tickets now. I am going to bring my camera, and just we're kind of transitioning that my work compatriot, he's returning to the UK. He's going back to Scotland, and we're still going to work together. He was just like, I would like to return there. I would like to see my family. Godspeed, of course. So we'll just keep working, and but it's going to change a little bit that he's back in Scotland, and where I was like eager to get in and out last time, since it's just 100% remote, I'll probably go to Da Nang for like 3 days or something like that, and I am going to film, and I am going to make these videos, and I am going to do this kind of stuff now because there's such a clear vision ahead for what we need to do that I don't wonder when I do something like this if it might screw stuff up. So it's just exciting. You wouldn't believe, it's not that my friends put up with, but just the amount of outgoing messages from this little space in the sky in Thailand to my friends and family as we progress, it's nonstop. Yeah. You think you get peace and quiet from me just because I'm not there? No. I will keep talking. All right. This is fun. Cool. Don't do anything they tell you to do at the end of YouTube videos. I appreciate you. See you later.